Let's dive right into this explainer. This is actually a vital continuation of our innovation management series, and today we're unpacking topic 7, the roles of marketing in innovation. We are going to figure out exactly how marketing connects your internal organizational capabilities to real external market adoption. So here's a question pretty much every innovator dreads. Why do technically brilliant innovations just fail? Well, let's dispel a massive myth right off the bat. Marketing is not merely advertising, and it is definitely not just some promotional push you tack onto the very end of the production line. Instead, we have to reframe it. Marketing is a critical, foundational system used to discover, design, and deliver actual value. Honestly, if you ignore it until the end, you aren't building a product, you're building a bridge to nowhere.
To fix that, we're going to systematically cross from the internal organization directly to the customer. We'll start by looking at this bridge to market adoption, decode markets and customer value, design a coordinated 7P mix, execute digital go-to-market strategies, and finally, learn how to diagnose failures responsibly.
Okay, Section 1, the bridge to market adoption. Let's lay down some rapid-fire groundwork to make sure we are all speaking the exact same language. First up, what actually is marketing? Broadly defined, it's the processes for understanding markets and creating, communicating, delivering, and sustaining value. I really want to emphasize that it involves the entire life cycle of an innovation, not just a single flashy product launch. Building on that, we have innovation marketing. This is the highly specific work that supports opportunity discovery, development, testing, launch, adoption, and eventually renewal. Think about it. When you introduce a radical new solution, the market might be completely unfamiliar with it. So innovation marketing heavily relies on category education. You literally have to invent a new language so your customers can actually understand what you're offering.
Next is market orientation. The crucial takeaway here is that simply collecting a bunch of customer data is nowhere near enough. True market orientation means intelligence about your customers, competitors, and the environment must be generated, shared, and used organization-wide. If your data is just stuck in a silo in the marketing department and it isn't actively informing R&D, finance, and leadership to drive real changes, well, your organization just isn't market-oriented.
And this is how marketing actually completes our internal RICP system. It acts as the bridge connecting your internal resources, infrastructure, culture, and process with real-world market outcomes. For example, your organizational culture has to foster external curiosity. You need to honestly learn from your customers, rather than just stubbornly defending your original idea. Moving on to Section 2, Markets, Customers, and Value. The big shift here is moving away from broad guesses and applying precise segmentation, targeting, and positioning. We absolutely have to know who we're creating value for and how they make their buying decisions.
There is a really stark, fascinating contrast between consumer, or B2C markets, and business B2B markets. In B2C, decisions are heavily driven by emotion, habit, and convenience. But B2B, that is a completely different world. It demands operational integration and hard economic evidence, usually evaluated by a whole group of people. Take the Malaysian company Aerodyne Group. When they sell their enterprise drone solutions, they can't just pitch the cool factor of the tech. They have to prove precise economic value, risk reduction, and reliability to both technical and financial gatekeepers.
We also need to look closely at platform models. Whether you're building direct digital commerce, a subscription service, freemium access, or multi-sided marketplaces, each has entirely distinct adoption hurdles. Think about Grab or Amazon Marketplace. The real innovation isn't the software itself, it's how they solve the classic chicken and egg problem, successfully balancing value and trust across multiple participant groups, like writers and drivers, or buyers and third-party sellers.
Now, let's talk about the false confidence of broad market sizing. Just taking a huge population and multiplying it by an optimistic price tag gives you your TAM, your total addressable market. But honestly, that's a dangerous trap. You have to aggressively slice that down to your serviceable obtainable market, or SOM. That is the realistic share you can actually capture given your current capabilities and the competition. When we look at how customers adopt innovations, they move through a very specific decision journey: problem recognition, search, choice, use, and repeat. It's incredibly helpful to frame this entire journey through the jobs-to-be-done lens. Customers don't just buy a product, they literally hire an innovation to make progress in a specific situation. If we understand the exact job they are trying to do, marketing can step in to reduce friction at every single stage of that journey.
Let's jump into Section 3, Designing the 7P Mix. This is where the rubber meets the road, and we convert all that market understanding into a tangible, coordinated offering.
You're probably familiar with the traditional 4 Ps, but modern service and digital innovations absolutely require the extended 7 Ps: product, price, place, promotion, people, process, and physical evidence. Think about local Malaysian cases like Zus Coffee or Petronas Settle. They aren't just selling a core commodity like coffee or fuel. They use digital app interfaces, physical locations, robust loyalty programs, and seamless processes to build a totally holistic, augmented service. All 7 Ps act as vital design variables.
Which brings us to a critical diagnostic question, the 7P alignment test. Does every single P reinforce or does it contradict your core value promise? Because if you market a premium product, but then pair it with terrible, unresponsive customer support, you completely break the innovation's adoption. Every single touchpoint has to express one coherent promise.
Section 4. Go-to-market and digital strategy. The offering is designed, so let's talk about the specific execution of bringing it across that bridge to reality. Notice the expansive roles of digital strategy here. Listen, test, engage, deliver, and learn. Digital channels are way more than just promotion. They allow us to strategically test value propositions with simple landing pages, engage early communities, and gather concrete behavioral evidence, like actual retention data, long before we commit to massive infrastructure investments. And this builds directly into a strategic launch sequence: pre-launch, early launch, expansion, and renewal. This firmly establishes that a launch is an ongoing, metrics-driven learning process. It is not a one-and-done event. You pilot the system, support those early users closely to capture any exceptions, and you only scale up to expansion when you've proven repeatable acquisition and retention. But what happens when the bridge fails? Let's get into Section 5, Diagnosing Adoption and Failure, and look at why some innovations just don't catch on. We can actually diagnose these common failures. Patterns like a technology searching for a problem or a massive feature value gap happen all the time. Think about historical examples like Nokia or Kodak. When they struggled, it wasn't because they lacked technical knowledge. No, they struggled because of rigid internal RICP bottlenecks. Their internal culture and infrastructure simply couldn't act on the market intelligence that was screaming at them that the very basis of value had shifted.
Which leads us to Section 6, Responsible and Ethical Marketing. Ultimately, we need to explore how all of this ties into the profound ethical responsibility we carry as innovators who are literally shaping society.
Innovation marketing inherently shapes human behavior and access, which brings deep ethical risks. Responsible practices mean absolute truthfulness in your claims, rigorous protection of privacy, ensuring accessibility, avoiding manipulative dark patterns in your digital interfaces, and strictly avoiding environmental greenwashing. And I really want to stress this. Maintaining trust and handling data responsibly is a strategic commercial capability. It's not just some legal compliance checklist.
Here is the ultimate ethical test for your innovation. Ask yourself, would the marketing practice remain acceptable if the customer fully understood how it worked, what data it used, and who carried the risk? I highly encourage you to challenge yourselves and the true transparency of your own go-to-market strategies with that very simple but powerful question.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground in this explainer today. We've seen how marketing operates before, during, and after development to reduce uncertainty and drive real adoption. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. How will marketing complete your innovation system? I hope you take these 7 Ps and Rick and P frameworks and use them to ensure your brilliant ideas actually survive the bridge to reality. Keep innovating, and we will see you in the next explainer.